wavy.
I know, it's lovely and warm. I'm going to push you back, otherwise it cuts off my head. There we go.
So, how are we?
I'm right. How are you? So we've both been sort of, you've been on the beach. I think I've been on the beach.
Yeah, we got kicked off the beach actually yesterday, literally on our own. And this guy, like in a quad bike with all his like flipping like police gear on, came and said, "You're not allowed on the beach unless you're walking." And the kids were digging, and he was like a proper clipboard, and he just kicked us off the beach. I said, "I only live there," and he said, "Well, go in there then." I went, "All right then, come on."
Really?
Kids.
So you have
spade,
to be walking. Yeah. So you have to be walking or what? Doing a sport?
Yeah, basically, you're not allowed. Okay. You're not allowed to do it yourself. Yeah.
Gosh, so our lot, we are allowed to. We're allowed to be on the beach. The teenagers are. The beach is mobbed with teenagers. So there's £1,000 fine if they get within 2 meters. But seriously, Wednesday
you
night.
try keeping teenagers 2 meters apart.
No chance. Mine were at the beach Wednesday. I mean, they said it was mobbed. So yeah.
Spring break.
Yeah, spring break.
Okay, right, inflammation. I just briefly mentioned that book, The Inflamed Mind by Edward Bulmore, because...
Which I still haven't read.
You're going to love it. Yeah. It's fabulous. I'll briefly talk about it. Basically, he starts the book saying about when he goes to the dentist, he had toothache, and the dentist pulled the tooth out, which got rid of which caused more inflammation. And then he felt depressed for the next 2 days after that. And also, he's a doctor. And then he also was treating a woman with arthritis who was basically sort of saying she had more, the depression was worse than the arthritis. And it's all the cytokines and everything. There's basically they can cross the blood-brain barrier.
Yeah.
And if I suppose if you've got that genetic predisposition for having a high sort of inflammation response, you're going to be predisposed. So if you've got a virus, or if you've got an injury, or, if you've got even like an abscess in your tooth, you're more likely to feel mentally depressed than, say, somebody else, which for me is fascinating. I mean, I just had a quick look at the book. 25% of all arthritis patients are depressed.
Right.
And a third of all depressed patients are inflamed.
So is he basically linking physical inflammation, arthritis, pain, whether it's swelling, or even they've got a virus or something physical with links with inflammation in the brain and how it crosses the blood-brain barrier.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The cytokines, and how they can cross the blood-brain barrier. They're not independent of each other. So he's actually, he mentions that some people could be treated not with antidepressants, but with anti-inflammatories.
Anti-inflammatories, yeah.
Which makes sense to me.
Yeah, because you know that NAC, which is the precursor to glutathione, is a powerful, when taken away from food so that it's not digested, it becomes a powerful anti-inflammatory for the brain. So so people forget.
I need to up my NAC. I'm feeling it. The past 3 days, I've not been in ketosis. I've been picking on crisps. I have been picking on sourdough bread. I've been grazing, and I've really felt it.
They're awful. And you haven't got PMT. You haven't got PMT.
No, I've not got PMT at all, but I really feel like I have.
You just, oh God, the photo of you bloated.
Yeah, I know. It's nice, isn't it?
We should have had a competition. Me in my early 20s, when I had gut issues, when I had candida and I was eating gluten, I was even bigger. I could have had a competition with you. I was like full on. It's incredible,
isn't it? So tell me, just getting back onto inflammation. So that bloating I experienced yesterday, and I do experience a lot because I do shove food down my throat, and I do eat stood up while I'm cooking, and because I'm always on the go. But is that my gut getting inflamed because I'm not sitting down, I'm not eating like a lady?
Yeah, I think partly yes, because when you're not chewing your food very well, you're not releasing your digestive enzymes. Now remember, in your blood test your amylase was low, and amylase already, that is secreted in your saliva, so that's where it starts, but also in the pancreas as well, which is why that you should be taking your pancreatic enzymes. But yes, but when you're not chewing properly, then you don't release your digestive enzymes very well. So in food particles, things aren't being digested, and then eventually it will cause inflammation in the gut. And also you can't digest your food properly, so you're not even getting the nutrients from your food. So if you don't digest your food properly, or you don't have enough digestive enzymes, pancreatic enzymes, then you can't break down your food properly. You're not going to be absorbing the nutrients. But yeah, so therefore you can, for you, it's really bloated. For somebody else, it might be they get indigestion or acid reflux, but that's your thing, that's your sort of weakness. But your bloating, I think, is very much to do with your low pancreatic enzymes. So you're not breaking your
so that could help me with my, well, just that little part of my digestive system that is a bit sensitive.
Yeah, and we don't really know why. You know, it could be that, gosh, you know, you would have thought sort of years of, you know, alcohol use and that sort of thing. People can end up having pancreatitis. That's not you, okay? When we looked at your sort of bloods and things like that, actually that's not you. So you sort of lower the digestive enzymes. You need a little bit of help with sort of insulin, because of course that's where it's made in the pancreas. But still, you know, it can go the other way. So it might be sort of sometimes just sort of years, I'm not saying it's this, but sometimes years of abuse, then just later on in life can come back to kick you a bit. Wow, if that's the worst you've got, is that you don't produce enough pancreatic enzymes, then great, you know? So yeah. But it could be that. So, you know, a bit of inflammation in the pancreas, you know, or something. But yeah, so I think that's your sort of weakness. Everyone has their thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, getting on to some people's weaknesses, I think we should start on the skin and the inflammatory responses that people are getting. We're getting a lot about psoriasis, eczema, dermatitis. Is that an inflammatory response to something we've eaten?
Yeah. Well, dermatitis, anything with sort of an itis, so arthritis, dermatitis, gastritis, those are all inflammatory conditions. Dermatitis and psoriasis, people can get quite confused between the two. They can appear quite similar. So quite often it's on the scalp. But psoriasis, a lot of people, if they have it on the scalp. But it's very common. I think 2 to 4% of the population have psoriasis. And there's a very strong genetic link. But both are very much to do with the gut. And I say psoriasis, there is a liver element as well, and perhaps a lack of bile acids, and there's sort of antioxidant needs. So I would say absolutely. And a lot of these things, we know the immune system, most of it resides in the gut. So I think for those two things, absolutely concentrate on the gut. But for psoriasis sufferers, alcohol is going to be a problem.
Okay, really? So,
yeah.
Okay.
Because they need liver support, and they probably
what practical things can you do for something like psoriasis? Is sunlight good? Is the sauna good? Anything topical good?
Yeah, any skin condition is good. Obviously, for psoriasis, for dermatitis, you've got different sort of special shampoos and things that help. But obviously, that is only a topical thing. But they can, you know, they can really help. It's not going to take it away, though. It's not going to cure it. Quite often, people, they are better in the sun. I mean, vitamin D is useful for all these things. It's important for the immune system. So yes, to vitamin D and supplementing in the winter, or if you have a snip on your vitamin D gene. For psoriasis, I'd look at, you know, doing a detox, actually, because quite often it's sluggish liver pathways. So eating a diet rich, particularly for psoriasis, rich in antioxidants, lots of green leafy vegetables, lots of colour. So all these antioxidants which come from our vegetables and fruits, for sure. And for both dermatitis and psoriasis as well, I would be omitting gluten, dairy, oats and tomatoes as a start. Try that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, someone's mentioned here, is a juice detox any good?
Probably not. Well, for 48 hours, it would be okay. But the thing is, the liver needs protein to work. So any longer than that, then actually it's not helping your liver at all. So you could do it for 48 hours. I think, you know, when you do talk about specific detoxes, really what we're talking about is, you know, for whether it's a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, getting all that sugar out. So you don't have to necessarily just go for a mad juice detox. I would just be getting all those sugars out. I would be, you know, eating foods that are kind to your gut, that you're not sensitive to. getting out maybe gluten, dairy, caffeine, just sort of eliminate, a lot of these sort of known triggers. But I wouldn't do like go embark on the most enormous elimination diet. I would, because then you kind of restricting your diet. So I'd maybe focus on eliminating, the big ones first. But yeah, I would just do just a sense.
Have you still got your reset diet thing?
Yes, my 7-day plan. Do you want me to give you a discount again?
I think so. I think it's only fair with the sun shining and everything.
I think so too. I will get it back on tomorrow. I'll get the discount on and I'll message you, okay? I'll do same code, Davinia50. I'll just bring it back on. I'll make it live again.
Okay, fantastic. And would I be right in thinking that this 7-day sort of reset would be an anti-inflammatory type diet?
Yeah, so what you can do is, because I've made it fairly generic, so there is a little bit of rye bread allowed and there is some dairy yogurt, but there's no milk. So what I do, if you've got inflammatory condition, I would probably take it one step further and just make it gluten and dairy free. I limit tomatoes on it, but I would say no tomatoes. There is, I think, an option for oats somewhere, but I wouldn't have those. So because it's quite a generic plan, it's low in inflammatory foods, but I would just make it a bit more specific.
Okay, sorry, you glitched then.
Yeah. So basically, any foods that you are sensitive to will cause inflammation.
Okay. What's the best way of testing for inflammation?
Well, you've got different, it is a tough one, I have to say, because it's a broad spectrum of things. So if it's the gut, we suspect, then a stool test. So you're looking at calprotectin and lactoferrin. So calprotectin will be testing for, say, inflammatory bowel disease. So that's inflammation in the gut. So that's a stool test. Then in a blood test, which you should be able to get with your doctor, they can measure for C-reactive protein, which is an inflammatory marker, a blood test, which quite often it's high in people who have rheumatoid arthritis. So there's quite a few different sort of markers, or obviously genetic testing. When I've got your inflammatory genes up in front of me, it's not too bad. But if we've got time, we'll talk about
fabulous. Although I feel
you've
very
got like one
inflamed.
really good one and one not so good one. But yeah, it's not too bad. But and then there's sort of that's quite a good idea, sort of genes. But of course, if you're doing inflammatory sort of testing, it depends what it's for. Okay. So
some people are just quickly asking, could you go over the reason why we might not want to include nightshades like tomatoes in our diet? And also, someone's asking about why are oats inflammatory?
Well, for somebody with psoriasis, quite often the body thinks that oats are gluten. So even for somebody with psoriasis, I would probably get them off oats as well. I've just, found that, we do have sort of research. I've just found over the years that as soon as I get the oats out, then, their psoriasis goes down. Now, of course, everyone is very individual. I found somebody is okay on the small amounts of tomatoes, another person who still had it a little bit in the diet. As soon as she came off it, just straight away within 2 weeks, the psoriasis on the elbows went. So we are talking quite generically here. Nightshades are inflammatory for a lot of people, especially people with autoimmune diseases. Particularly, the skin is very hard to digest. I would say the two most problematic ones are potatoes and tomatoes. So again, I think it is, a matter, it's very individual.
Give it a go, cut it out, see what happens, I guess.
So I don't eat many of those sort of things. They wouldn't be something that I would eat every day. But okay. I don't have an autoimmune disease. I do have the celiac gene, but because I haven't eaten gluten for about 10 years, I probably would have had symptoms, but haven't eaten gluten for long enough. Yeah.
Could you just quickly explain eczema, and is that related to the gut as well?
Yes, it is. So eczema is an inflammatory skin condition, very much related to the gut. I think with sort of things like eczema and then sometimes things like hives as well, I always feel it's very much a raw gut, so healing the gut lining. But I would do just a full sort of gut healing, so healing the gut lining, getting in your probiotic foods, prebiotic foods. Sometimes digestive enzymes needed as well, but absolutely address leaky gut. I would. Sometimes I feel it's just that raw lining of the gut.
So I've just moving on to our next question. So I'd always say, listen, if you've got a bad gut, take bone broth. You know, it's cheap, it's easy, and it healed my gut, bovine, collagen, colostrum. But there's a lady here who reacted to powdered bone broth with nausea and night sweats. What was that about?
For most of the population, bone broth is great and is healing. So for a lot of us, it's fine. But there's a small percent of the population that will react to it, possibly for two reasons. One, because bone broth is a histamine food. So it could be that she's reacting to the histamine. But I do wonder about the fact that it contains glutamine, because we're talking about sweats and nausea, and that's quite a common reaction to glutamine. So what I would say is, if she wants to go back to being able to drink bone broth, try and, when she does go back, stick to fresh bone broth. But what I would try is reducing the other histamine foods or the other glutamine foods. So reducing.
Can you just explain what histamine is and what glutamine is? Let's just roll it right back.
Glutamine is amino acid, very important for the gut. It's involved in the brain as well. Histamine is like, I mean, we need histamine, so we need these things. We just don't want too much. So if you're reacting too much to histamine, things like pollens and people who have hay fever. So these people who do perhaps react to histamine foods as well. So high histamine foods, unfortunately, are also often good for the gut. So you've got things like fermented foods and things like that as well. So they can't have things like kefir, for example. Now, sometimes people react to different things, but if you have, so this is an inflammatory response when you have an overreaction to histamine, and it's just that person's genes. So you can see in genetic profile if they've got genes that make them overreact to these certain things. So we've all got genes and maybe SNPs on our genes that makes us perhaps react more, our immune system react a little bit too much to things.
Yeah, there's a lady here who's just said pineapple juice made her mouth swell up.
I get that one. I've had occasion with pineapple, really itchy gums. I know, which is funny because actually it's got anti-inflammatory properties, bromelain. But yeah. I would say pineapple is a really common one that people, particularly in the mouth, can really gums can swell up. I know.
I'm okay with pineapple. I think me being me. I think when I was a kid, I ate like half a pineapple, me, obviously, more is never enough. And I ended up getting all cracked lips here. Oh. It's brutal stuff, that pineapple. Yeah. It's like, it will dissolve you.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Oh dear. Right. Okay. I am implementing everything you've both suggested, but still cannot lose weight. Could there be inflammation?
There could be. Obviously, I'd like to know more, but there could be. Yeah, it could be that something has not been addressed yet. Literally, you have to turn every stone over. I had a client once, and we were just, backing away, couldn't work it out. So we got to the point where, with some clients it might be, gluten, take it out, they start losing weight, again. Dairy, that's it, start losing weight again. So it might be inflammatory foods, for example. Eventually, I found with one client, mold. She was exposed to mold, and it was actually from through her wardrobe. And she just never told me this, even though because I suppose it's just the way the questioning went. She hadn't really thought about it, that there was mold coming into her cupboard, but she had to move her clothes out, and they'd gone all a bit moldy. Anyway, we tested her for mold toxins, and she had high levels of mold toxins.
So would that keep her inflamed, as in physically, as in water retention, and her body just not, metabolizing properly? I'm trying to get my understanding of how it can stop the weight loss.
But so it was fatigue and weight loss. So she was tired and weight loss, but weight loss was actually the main thing. But she would just say, I'm tired, I don't feel myself. It is a complicated thing. I'm not saying it's going to be that complicated, but when you are doing all the right things, you've checked your thyroid, and when I say check your thyroid, Davinia, we've talked about the whole testing on the, doctors testing and the range in the UK and that sort of thing. Properly tested your thyroid and done genetic testing, perhaps, because you can't see always how well you convert or how well it gets into the bloodstream. So you absolutely, I would always be, for weight loss, checking things like thyroid, estrogen detoxification, trigger foods, and of course they will be inflammatory if you're eating foods.
And sleep as well. I mean, sleep's a massive one, isn't it?
Yeah, because sleep is when you burn most of your fat. So, you have to look at so many things.
Yeah. And if everybody, because I think we've got a few new followers here, if anybody wants to get these tests, have a look at Pippa's website. Pippa, what's your website again, just so people don't have to Google?
Go to the link in my bio, probably easier, because I've got
perfect.
The link
and you've got a list of tests and everything, so I'm having some more kombucha because I'm an inflamed bitch tonight.
Yeah, you do it, because you're not high histamine, so you can. Bitch.
Why the hell not? Hey, listen, I've suffered in the past, so I deserve a kombucha.
Interesting thing on histamine. So I used to suffer very badly with hay fever, but my gut issues that I had years ago, all sorts, but I used to suffer with hay fever, and I was a little bit sort of sniffy today and sneezing, and I do occasionally do that.
And I bet your husband went, oh shit.
It's so annoying. But so I had a coffee this morning and slightly sort of reacted a little bit to that. I thought, where am I in the month? And I checked my flow, and 5 days time I'm getting my period. So I have coffee, which slows down and I have a gene which means I can't detoxify coffee very well. What else goes down that same pathway? Estrogen. Yeah.
Right,
okay. Then there's too much estrogen circulating, which creates high histamine.
Right. There you go. You see, but most of us don't have that. We just bollock someone who's directly sat next to us. You've got this innate understanding of all your pathways. We just turn into utter wankers. Oh well, it's the joy of living with me. Okay, right. Okay, I really want to touch on this one, and we'll come back to estrogen and menopause and all that. I just want to get through these questions. So, things like crunchy knees, aching joints, tendons that hurt. What the hell is this?
Well, it could be inflammatory. Obviously, they need to go to a doctor because I'm not a sort of joint specialist. Get it properly checked out. If they have, and it's not rheumatoid arthritis and it's not osteoarthritis for sure, if it's definitely not, then I still think that you can support the joints in the same way. So I think things like collagen is really good for joints. So I'd be looking at
even as you're getting older. So if you've been physically fit in your 20s, your 30s, you're sort of like mid-40s, all of a sudden these joints are hurting. What is that about? I mean, why do we start getting more stiff?
Well, I think if it's just overnight, that's something to sort of look at. But unfortunately, as we age, we do deplete our collagen, from the age of 30. So that's an important factor. But, just because you didn't react to things as well 5 years ago, like people say, but I've always been fine with gluten, or doesn't mean that you aren't, that things change. We know that our gut regenerates, and our gut changes, the whole microbiome sort of like regenerates and changes. And so you've got to keep assessing yourself. I mean, I'm not talking about like on a daily basis, but I mean, you've got to sort of think, yes, people say, but I was okay in my 20s. I could eat that. I could drink that. Not so much for aging.
Okay, so would you recommend taking things like collagen and stuff for somebody who's feeling those crunchy knees?
Yes, and I would think like a really good curcumin supplement, an emulsified form as well. So collagen, curcumin, and then you've got all the anti-inflammatory foods. So, it's getting turmeric into your diet, then boswellia, propolis, which you can just put into a smoothie. Absolutely, diet always comes first. So we need to get all those antioxidants and anti-inflammatories in. So ginger and things like that as well. If you could just give us a quick sort of idea of what foods are anti-inflammatory. Okay, so first of all, I would always take the bad stuff out first. So I would try taking out gluten and dairy, see whether that makes a difference. But also at the same time, getting in lots of green leafy vegetables. So we want lots of antioxidants. to mop up the free radicals, to mop up all the bad stuff. So we want lots of green leafy vegetables, rich in sulforaphane, broccoli, sprouts, broccoli. Yeah. God, you're going to kill me if I go on about that. Then we've got, then we're adding colour. So that's where red onions are quercetin, which is a really good antioxidant, has anti-inflammatory effects. And apples, quercetin is in. So just think, without getting too complicated, think a lot of green and then think the rainbow. You know, and then you've got berries as well. So, you know, cherries. So I would just
is that me or Pippa?
Oh, don't know.
Have I lost you? Is it you or me?
I can still see you.
Oh, sorry, you froze like that.
Oh, no. Oh, no. I hope it's not my Wi-Fi, because we just had the whole house rewired on Monday. Oh, it's bound to be you. Heads will roll. As in, like, you know, if it's me, I'm furious.
Speaking of Wi-Fi, is it inflammatory?
Oh, gosh, yes. Any endocrine disruptors, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, 3G, don't get me 4G, don't get me started about 5G. All of these things will be inflammatory. I mean, look, we're exposed to so much. There's only so much we can do, but do what you can. Look, I should be turning my phone off in the car and putting it onto airplane mode, but I'm always worried the children need to get hold of me. You know, I mean, we're talking about limiting as much as we can. But yes, it's inflammatory. So
actually,
we're talking about
this is like it's a CMO, and basically I have one of these on my headphones as well, and it's an oscillator, and it counteracts the waves, the 3G, 4G waves and Bluetooth, but it doesn't interrupt the signal. So just getting one of these like CMO promo things are really good. And you can have them in your bedroom and stuff, and always sort of turn off Wi-Fi if you can at night. Apparently it just gives a better night's sleep. So I can tell on my Aura Ring if I've had my phone next to me in airplane mode or not. I get better deep sleep if I have it in airplane mode.
Yeah. So
it's just a simple thing to do.
Not even have phones in the bedroom. So if my children are out, I'm going to bed. I put it outside the bedroom so I can hear. But to be honest, if they're all in the house, then my phone's downstairs, sort of anyway. Yeah. But we should do a live on a chat on detoxing anyway, and we can talk all about those things, which would be really good.
Yeah, definitely. Let's do a detox. Okay, I had glandular fever in my teens, and I feel like I've never fully recovered. Could this cause inflammation? Who's that dog? Is that your dog?
Yeah, it's mine.
What's he called?
You think I'm ridiculous. So my dogs are called Mimi and Honey. Because I'm just
Mimi what?
Mimi and Honey. One's called Mimi and one's called Honey.
And they're having a right chat.
Shut up! Yeah, I'll shut the door if they go on. I'm obviously immune to it, aren't I? So glandular fever, that's a really interesting one because so many people have had it. I had it when I was 16. It's, you know, kind of the kissing disease. But for some people, it hangs around and it lies dormant. So you probably heard of Epstein-Barr virus, which is basically glandular fever. And it can lie dormant and kind of rear its ugly head later on in years. And people will just feel that, and then they're crashing again and they feel absolutely exhausted. And it can be a bit cyclical. And it can be linked with chronic fatigue syndrome. It can be linked with autoimmune diseases like Hashimoto's. So I would always be testing to see whether the virus is still active. And then if it is, then, you know, we'd go on sort of some antivirals. But so...
Well, I mean, I suppose by that hypothesis of that book I read, The Inflamed Mind, a virus like that just remains in the system, constantly nudging an inflammatory response of cytokines, you're always going to be on the brink of depression. You know, so that's like comes with glandular fever. You feel down, you feel low, you know. I've just come out in a cold sore. That came out 2 days ago. I felt it. I don't know why, but I'd started eating crappy foods again. Sleep was all right. I didn't feel like going to the gym. And it all stems back from what I put in my gut. And it's that bad. If I don't eat a paleo diet, I come out in a cold sore, I stop training in the gym, and I self-sabotage, and I'm in a foul mood, regardless. And it takes hours. not weeks. You know, I am that fast at how I react. And you know what? That for me, as a recovering alcoholic, if I feel down in the dumps, obviously my instinct is to reach for a glass of wine. I mean, I wouldn't, of course, because of the hell I've been through. But I don't want to crave anything I can't have. And it's like that triggering, you know? So if I just put that sort of like paleo bar in front of me and say, no, you're only eating paleo. If you want something sweet, you have some honey or maple syrup. You do not go down the Milky Bar, sort of the Milky Way type thing. You don't go down Cadbury's aisle. You don't do that. You don't have toast and you don't have croissant, because 24 hours later, you'll be like, why can't I have a glass of wine? And I'll be
it just triggers things. I find, for me, the most important thing is sleep and green leafy vegetables. So if I'm not getting enough vegetables, I just don't feel as good. I feel it. I really feel it. And sleep is a massive one for me. If I'm not sleeping well, then the whole world is coming to an end. But for me, vegetables is a key thing. So sometimes when I go on holiday, actually, I don't get enough, and I'm like, I can feel it. But
so if you go, I don't know, a bit carby or pastry or something like that, if you don't have like salads with it, you'll just start teetering down. I
just need to have a lot of vegetables, But you were talking about cytokines, so for people just to explain, this is sort of like the chemical messengers, and it's involved in the inflammatory response. So we've got pro-inflammatory, so good cytokines. It's pro-inflammatory. Well, they're sort of like good and bad. So I suppose pro-inflammatory ones, so if there's inflammation, rushing to the site. Now we need this balance.
Like if you have a splinter.
Yeah, so a splinter, or you've got a cut, then it rushes to the site. So these chemical messages are saying, heal, go to the site. But it's when things get out of hand, and you've coined this expression, cytokine storm, when things are just getting really out of hand, and then it's just like a bullet. Imagine they're like bullets flying around your body, and it's like, whoa, this is like huge.
Well, I found when I had breast implants, that's what was happening to me, and that's what I likened it. When I got them removed, it was like taking that splinter out. All of a sudden, I lost all this water weight here, all here, water weight, and like the most incredible sort of like energy came back. It's like I had a really good night's sleep, even though I was getting 9-10 hours the week before. As soon as I got those splinters out of me, that my body must have just been like fighting them, saying, look, this is near your limbs, this is near your heart, this is near your major organs. My immune system must have just been going like this. And I only had them in for about 7 years. There's people who've got them in for like 25 years without changing
but
them.
You've got a snip on your interleukin 6, which is a really important, which is a gene, but that's really important. So that's a cytokine, interleukin 6. And you've got your homozygous on that, so it's red. But yeah, so that, that gene, I'm guessing,
must have gone into overdrive.
Turn on and off genes, and that one was definitely, reduced expression there. So,
well, I mean, I felt constantly hungover. So that to me is an inflammatory state. I'd not drank for God knows how many years, but I knew I felt hungover. And that's how I feel if you're coming down with something, if you've hurt yourself, if I'm in the gym, if I pulled my back or something, I feel hungover. And is that the cytokines whizzing around, crossing the blood-brain barrier?
So when you exercise, actually, we do actually create inflammation. But that's normal. So actually, one word, when people exercise or even over-exercise, be very careful what you eat after, because if you eat the same thing after a workout, it could be that is the thing you'll become potentially intolerant or sensitive to. Quite often it's
really? I didn't know that.
You get temporary leaky. It's like you get a bit of a temporary leaky gut after intense exercise.
Well, because I don't eat. After the gym, I do not have any post-workout shake. Like they try and push on you in Barry's boot camp, and they charge you £7 for it. I don't do that, because I read in one of Ben Greenfield's books, you need to give your liver and body chance to calm the friggin' hell down. Then you can refuel yourself if at all you need it. So, obviously drink a ton of water, but don't put any more pressure on your liver, because it's doing so much to try and fight off that inflammation.
So don't eat immediately after, but if there is a meal even later on that day, and you're looking at kind of food sensitivities, that might be where you want to look at. So what are you eating a lot of, particularly later on after exercise, something, because it just induces this temporary inflammation, which, we need, but it creates...
So what would you recommend post-workout? Bearing in mind, I'd probably leave it an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours. So what would you say? Just like a whey protein then?
Yeah, but again, if they're not sensitive to whey, it's all relative to each person. So I would just go for the least inflammatory food. So, as much as you want to scoff that donut, that is not going to be a post-workout meal.
No, and you basically, you cannot literally outrun
So what we're talking about...
Doesn't matter how many miles you've run, a donut, you're just never going to shake it off. It's going to hang around.
We're talking about relieving this internal... I call it like, it's an analogy with my clients, like an internal dustbin. So say, for example, you've got something, whether it's, whatever you're sensitive, it could be gluten or eggs or whatever, and you're piling on, and then you've got perhaps pollen that you react to, dust, and then, all these things, so you pile it up, and then
pollution,
sugar. So then there's a final thing, and then your dustbin flows over. So it's just reducing that load.
Okay.
Because that's when things go wrong, is where that dustbin overflows.
I like to say the rain barrel effect as opposed to dustbin. The rain barrel effect. I'm so American. Okay. Can you please explain to me about acid reflux? There's been a lot of questions popping up on here about it. What is it? How do we get rid of it? And why do doctors keep trying to cool down that acid when really it's about not making enough acid, or it's in the wrong place?
In the wrong
place.
What is it about? And is it acid reflux at all? Because very common is the fact it's bile reflux. Right, particularly I'll talk about bile reflux first, because that's actually more common and often it's misdiagnosed. If you're the sort of person that's saying you've got acid reflux and you sometimes feel nauseous or you get hungover, you don't tolerate fatty foods very well, it's probably bile reflux. Very common with women, especially as we get older, and especially if we're stressed. So bile is produced in the liver, and I think we all need liver support. So bile is produced in the liver and stored in the gallbladder, and it's there to help with digestion. Bile is really needed to help sort of fight off, to prevent infections and things like that. So gut bacteria. Okay, so what happens is when we're stressed, or just because sometimes as we age, it doesn't flow very well. So this bile, sometimes it doesn't flow very well, and then people can actually get constipated because it's needed to form a nice soft stool, and your stool will be dark. It should be a proper brown colour. If it's not, there's not enough bile in there. And then sometimes it might get dumped and then you have diarrhea. So then you've got these sort of IBS symptoms. And then bile reflux can start coming back up and irritating the gut and the gut wall. And that's where things like psoriasis can happen, because then it erupts, comes out in the skin, or it can even come back up here. People can have a lump in their throat or that acidy feeling. So it's very similar to acid reflux. So have a look at that. So liver support, talking about lots of antioxidants, phosphatidylcholine, can be very good. Maybe even ox bile. Now, if it is true acid reflux, which is generally acid in the wrong place, okay. Then that's the acid kind of escaping. So that's where...
So what are the symptoms of real acid reflux?
So it is quite hard to distinguish, because it's very similar to bile reflux. So it can be that sort of real acid, sort of burning, indigestion-y feel, and that just real acidy kind of feel. But it's very similar to bile reflux. If Gaviscon works really well for you, if it works like a treat, then, that is quite acid refluxy. But I would be, again, looking at removing certain inflammatory things from your foods, like caffeine, chocolate, tomatoes, gluten again, sometimes dairy. So there are...
Why would caffeine be a problem? Is it the coffee?
Because it can slightly wear away the sort of the lining, so that's when things can come back up the wrong way.
But would you be able to take a caffeine tablet?
Good point. Instead of drinking caffeine,
they're the best things for me to take.
That's a good point. I don't know whether, so caffeine, because some people find they can have one coffee and then the next coffee they're burning, Could a caffeine tablet...
Could it be the polyphenols in the coffee that are doing that or something? Is that
no, I mean, the actual, well, we don't really know actually why, but there are certain things in the coffee, not so much the caffeine, and in the coffee that does this. And some people are okay with decaf coffee. I don't know about caffeine supplement where it would do the same thing, but I would keep an eye on caffeine, and chocolate as well can be a trigger for acid reflux. Really annoying.
It's got to be because it's dark and brown. It's got to be. Because, I mean, would a matcha tea do it?
Less likely, but I mean, some people don't get on at all with matcha. I don't, but no, not for acid reflux.
It can make me a bit more edgy. The caffeine, even though it's got L-theanine in it, it can make me more edgy than a coffee would. So I always take L-theanine on top of a matcha, even though matcha has already got L-theanine in, which is weird. Green tea makes me more jittery than coffee these days.
Yeah, I don't think matcha causes bad acid reflux. I mean, I'm talking about the main triggers. But,
so what would you recommend for true acid reflux then?
What sort of foods? Well, so I think it's more about foods to avoid.
Right. Okay.
So I would try.
And if you're kind of like stuck taking Gaviscon all the time, are you not building up some sort of like addiction to that? So
yeah, exactly. And people I mean, alcohol can be a real nightmare for people, and that's I know some people and then some people find some alcohol, like a gin might be okay, but wine or something is really creates acid. So I think it is quite individual. You have to experiment. But with, elimination diet, but certainly supporting the liver and digestive enzymes and things as well. So
yeah. What about, is it HCl? What about HCl?
Yes, yeah, that might work. If it is true acid reflux, then that definitely might help. Yeah, if it's not bile reflux, if it's more acid reflux. So that's higher up. If it's bile reflux, so down here, especially people with bile reflux, they might get an ache below their rib, around their gallbladder, liver gallbladder. Sometimes get an ache on the right side. Left would be more IBS, but if it's on the right side, more bile reflux.
Okay, because there's this company that have just launched an HCl product called Biooptimizers that have given us guys 10% off. I think you just use my name as a code, and I think it's in my discounts anyway. But apparently it's really good and it's plant-based, so anyone can take it. Right, can we quickly move on to like HRT and inflammation and, menopause and the whole shebang there? What is the relationship between menopause, HRT and inflammatory response?
Well, HRT, I mean, so you get, very different types of HRT. But that's where I do find genetic testing quite useful because you can actually see whether somebody's will be very sensitive to things like HRT. So you can see their sensitivity to estrogen. So I can see whether if they're then not able to detox even their HRT, then it can create inflammation, problems with detoxification, and potentially risks of breast cancer. So we know there are risks with HRT, but for many women, they find it, really helps them. Some people have gone straight to their GP to get HRT. Other women have tried the more natural route. Everyone's different. I know when the time comes for me, if I'm having issues, then I certainly will be trying the natural route first.
What's the natural route then? What sort of products are you looking at?
Well, I mean, at the moment, Davinia, I'm like you, so I don't detoxify estrogen very well. So in the sort of my perimenopausal years, I am in the perimenopausal years, but I've still got regular periods at the moment, so I don't have any signs yet. So I take DIM because I need, like you, phase 1 support. I also need phase 2 support because I struggle with the next stage of eliminating estrogen as well. I have a slow comp, so I need methylation support with magnesium, so I kind of need the whole lot actually. And then you and I are both missing the glutathione gene. So if our DIM is not doing all it's supposed to do, which of course it is, but just say a little bit of that estrogen escaped down the pathway it shouldn't, then the glutathione should be there to mop it all up. Oh, we don't have the glutathione gene. So
we take NAC.
Don't take NAC. Now, people would think, well, why would you be missing this gene? Why? Well, as hunter-gatherers, it didn't matter if we didn't have that gene. I mean, it's there to mop up toxins. What toxins were there? Yeah. So it didn't matter, but it does matter now.
Yeah, so, they didn't live in central London, did they? No.
So that's what I'm doing now. Then the next stage, it might be that I'm going with a little bit of a female glandular. Actually, I have started on one of the supplements I recommended to you, funny enough, just this week, called BioGGGB. I think that it's called. It's a B vitamin with a little bit of brain glandular. And I've just started that to see. I'm experimenting with a few things at the moment. And I think that's
we love a pill, me and you, don't we?
And then stupidly, I don't know why I came off my magnesium malate forte. Gosh, I don't know, about a year ago or something. Just completely forgot about it, didn't take it. I went back on that this week. So it's different type of as we've discussed, there are different types of magnesium. So this is good for my slow COMT. It's also good for my energy and the malic acid. Oh my goodness, overnight. I was like, I felt invincible, and I was like, why? Why on earth did I stop that?
I want that. Do you think it'll work for me? I want to be invincible.
Well, try it.
I feel very invincible at the moment.
But I think if you just make one change at a time, then you can really see if you feel a difference. Now, you're not always going to feel a difference with supplements, like really, really notice them. You're not always. And then another thing I had tried recently, because I thought, it's not for me. So I tried ashwagandha, didn't work for me, but it worked for my husband. But then, because it's more of a calming, so I like in the morning, like some maca to get me up. But then
I bought some maca, and it doesn't do anything for me at all.
No, you see, everyone's different. I think it helps. But again, I don't really notice that one massively, but I think it does. But I'm taking ashwagandha complex, which it's a really interesting mix. So, but you could kind of maybe make your own mix. So it's ashwagandha, rhodiola, holy basil. So those are like calming down ones. But then it's got licorice and ginger. So you've got your uppers and your downers in one little pot.
Sounds like a good night out to me.
And
that's what I'm trying to do for all those years.
And I really, really, really noticed that one. So I'm just taking that in the morning and at lunch. And
will you put a link to that? Because I know a lot of these guys.
And then there's
will be interested to see.
There's a tea which is very similar, but of course it's not going to get quite the same effect. I was taking it by mistake at night. Pukka tea. It's called Peace. And I didn't realise. So it's got ashwagandha. It's got some other calming stuff in. And to be honest, nothing stops me sleeping. But I didn't realise when I looked at it, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said, this is quite good. I'm taking this, and it has licorice in as well. So you don't want to take that at night.
No. It was called Peace, as in just have a chilled out day.
Yeah, so you take it during the day, but actually you don't want
it. That's bad labelling by Pukka. We should
so Pukka has teas, which I think are really lovely quality, and this one's called Peace. So it's a little bit. So it's a little bit of it's calming with a bit of an upper, just a little.
But I mean, I find, speaking about inflammation and stuff, that when I do get stressed, I get very, very tired.
Yeah.
Even like throughout the day, it's like I get an inflammatory response to stop, retreat, go to bed.
Yeah.
I suddenly just hit this wall and slide down it. So sometimes I'd find that if I had something like rhodiola to calm me down, my energy levels would actually go back up because I'm not sort of like stressed, as in I'm not cytokines everywhere, and my brain's just saying, okay, can't deal with this, let's switch off and call it a night at 2 in the afternoon.
So you're working on your cortisol, and by by sort of like calming things down, you actually then have more available energy. Stress is a huge trigger for inflammation. Huge.
Can we talk briefly just about water retention? Because I know when I'm overweight, because I mean, I have been overweight, I battled a lot with this water retention around sort of my ankles, my knees, always inner thighs, just stored water. And then I had belly fat as well. That was definitely fat, that wasn't water. What is water retention? Oh, and like I said, when I had the breast implants, you couldn't see these collarbones for water, I was like matronly. What is water retention, and why do we get it when we're inflamed?
Okay, well, can I just ask, when you had your water retention, did you feel like you were weeing enough?
No, just kind of normal, really. I've never really, I didn't notice any great thirst. I've never really been like one for drinking. Booze. But no, I didn't, a lot of people said to me, you've got to, drink more water, that's what it is. I actually found that drinking horsetail tea really started shifting.
Because it's a natural diuretic. So I think if you're drinking a lot of water and you're feeling sort of like you've got water retention, and yet you are still going to the loo and it's quite clear, then I'd say you need electrolytes to help with the water retention. Sodium, magnesium, potassium, so that E-light. Now, if you are drinking a lot of water but you feel like you're not actually weighing enough for the amount you're drinking, focus more on potassium. So this is about kidney function here. Focus on potassium. But yes, when you are inflamed, your body goes into this sort of like coping mechanism. Just basically everything is sluggish and slow. Everything holds on to everything. So your detox pathways, nothing sort of flushing through. So that's probably why when you were sort of inflamed. But as a general rule, if people are holding water retention, sometimes people are eating too much salt, but actually sometimes it's just not enough.
Okay, so just to dispel any confusion about salt, I only have Celtic salt or sometimes a pink Himalayan salt if I know it's a real thing and it's not just some fake salt from Pakistan. So I have an awful lot of salt really, and I don't seem to be holding much water. Is that because I'm using a good quality salt?
You're using a good quality salt, and also, Davinia, you exercise a lot, you need it. I mean, we do need salt. And when your body is running pretty efficiently and you're detoxing, you need salt. Especially as, you're not eating a high carb diet. So a lot of people who first go keto find that they're sometimes lacking in salt. And I find when people quite often go on my programs, so on my 3-month program, they all have to start with some Epsom salts, which is nice. But sometimes I find, they can...
Well, they drink Epsom salts?
Just for day one, just have a bit of a...
Does that not just make you poo?
Clear out. Yeah, that's the whole idea, yeah.
Right, okay.
Nice. I'm like, just get on with it, just do it.
Just get it out. We're starting fresh. I mean, that's do you know what? You know when all this started, this cold sore and this sort of, when I had a Chinese takeaway on Friday. I know.
There you go. Your body didn't like that, did it?
No, and I had activated charcoal, I had chlorella, I had spirulina, and I had a detox tea, and I didn't do apple cider vinegar because I couldn't be arsed getting out of bed to go and get it. But you know what? It just shows you, it can just set off every single signal in my body, and my body just goes, nah, I'm going to give you a hangover for 3 days.
I don't think it mattered probably what you'd done. Even if you'd had your pancreatic enzymes, it might have helped with a little bit with the bloating, but if you're going to have something like I made this, I was so chuffed. I came up with this Christmas cake recipe before Christmas, and I was really quite smug about it actually because I thought it was really good. And I ate half.
Oh, I could imagine you at Christmas. Just sit down. We have 0.05 seconds before the cake comes up. For the love of God, child.
Oh my God.
Smile,
anyway,
put your hat on.
I ate half this cake even before we got to Christmas. And on the day I ate it, because I was so pleased with myself. Oh God, seriously, it was really good. But oh my goodness, for 3 days. Now I didn't put it on Instagram, maybe I should have done, but my bloating was horrific. So overload of fructose there. And anything I'd taken, any digestive enzymes, God, it might have helped slightly, but the amount I ate, really, 3 days, massive bloating. It was going to happen.
Ruin Christmas. Yeah, it's incredible that once you get your body into a sort of clean, it's important to just don't go back because it's hell getting back into it because the cravings kick off. The sort of stinking thinking about what else can I get, is nothing better.
Yeah. And then you feel depressed.
Paleo diet that suits you. Well, this is for me speaking, or in a ketogenic state, so my mind's in a really nice, sharp trajectory. There is nothing worse than being where I am now with a cold sore and a mental dip, just thinking, roll on tomorrow, and I need to sweat this out. You know?
Like you say, it's that mental dip, like you're talking about right from the beginning, coming back round again.
Exactly.
You are physically
Inflammation.
inflamed, you're bloated, you've had a trigger food, you've had, you know, environmental toxins, whatever it is, something physically is going on, and then you'll feel really down. So people who are really bloated and living like that day in, day out, then start to feel depressed and down. So
yeah, I mean, I've done it, you know, and it's horrible. It's a living hell. And you know what? I think that because we're women as well, I think we have these triggers, our hormones, and also society's like, oh, have a piece of cake, you'll be better.
Oh God, don't get me onto feeders in offices.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
Feeders.
Oh, have a donut. It doesn't matter about him. You know, if you've like been dumped or whatever, it's just like the opposite of what you need. You know, it's awful. I can't stand it when
can
people
I just quick say
have a
before
bar
we
of
go,
chocolate.
don't everyone start taking Epsom salts. They're quite severe. I only use it at the beginning of my 3-month program.
Go on, I dare you all. Have some Epsom salts. It's
tiny
horrific.
amounts. Yeah. So this is not like something you do daily unless you go to the Mayo Clinic. They do have you doing it daily. So can you please, not all go and have a ton of Epsom salts and have diarrhea for a few days and can't leave the house.
Well, we can't leave the house really anyway. Oh no,
I suppose so. But you won't be able to leave the loo. This is different.
No. You could have done it at the beginning of lockdown. It'd have been fine. Honestly, I'm not going to get in trouble because I can't physically leave the loo. Thanks, Pippa and Davinia. No, okay. Anything else quickly? Acid reflux. Oh yeah. If you're inflamed, what's an emergency quick fix?
Oh gosh, it depends on what's inflaming you. If it's gluten, then you need to, before you go out for a meal, take a digestive enzyme that has something like glutease in that breaks down gluten. If it's dairy that will inflame you, then something that will break down dairy. So
there's a really good brand of those. Where would you get your digestive enzymes from that actually specify gluten, dairy, and then I think they've got one for everything as well?
Yeah, well, obviously mine come from Nutrilink, so I like full spectrum digest. For carbohydrate overload, there's something called Cristazyme. But really, just any good quality, broad spectrum digestive enzyme.
Because everyone's going to start going out for dinner and everything again, they need to take how many before you go out for dinner?
Well,
bearing in mind you may never have taken them before.
Depends on each brand. So I just take one. I always take one when I eat out so I don't get glutened. I always take one supplement, but I don't know how much different brands, how many you need to take. So I would always take a digestive enzyme when I eat out.
Okay, all right.
I don't normally,
3.
but yeah.
You're one, and I'll raise you 3.
Yeah, so I've got things that I'll take on a daily basis, and then I've got kind of things in the cupboard, like if somebody gets ill, somebody gets a cold, or we just dip into different stuff. So my son's got, he's got a problem with his finger at the moment from rugby, so he's on this sort of anti-inflammatory kind of formula, which has ginger, boswellia, brie, propolis, green tea, rosemary, alpha-lipoic acid. Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, to have you as our mom, it would be great. Just give us a picture.
I'll show you my cupboard sometime, all of you.
Oh, I'd love to see your cupboard. Please take a picture of it this week and just go, this is my
supplement cupboard and the supplement fridge.
Oh, I mean, I'd love it. Right, Pip, we've only got a minute left.
Yes.
So, final word on inflammation.
Yeah.
Basically, elimination diet. Get on your week program.
Oh yes, I'll get that. I'll do it now. I'll get that up and running again.
Yeah, get that discount code up and digestive enzymes.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Okay.
Thank you so much again. I will see you next Monday. Would you like to do a detox chat?
Yeah, go on. Let's do it.
Mega. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week for a detox chat. DM us anytime. Take care, angels. Bye.